Alright, so these are the two Warlock or magic user entries for the Verran Empire. And this essentially is going to be your generic wizard, and this is a specific named wizard.
Expensive wizard.
Oh yes, definitely. And it's a very special unit in this. We're going to start with the covering the Warlock, but what do we have as a kind of a backstory of what you call Kylaros is what you've called him?
The fat man,
Yeah.
Rasheth, he's just a gluttonous sack of crap. He's terrible to his in War Machine in Hordes. From what I remember, he was terrible to his people because he was all the money and food and taxes went to him in his little corner of the Skorne Empire. But he was a very powerful and feared magician. So but in this, he's kind of the keeper of the old ways of, hey, let's not get involved. I don't want to get involved. I'm happy where I'm at, but if you force me to fight, you're going to regret it.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to start with covering the Warlock options, which you'll see don't differ too much from your regular ones, but then we're going to cover and spend most of our time talking about Kylaros.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the Warlock. All right, so basically kind of starting with the Elven Warlock, Elven Magic User. There's, Elven Mage, that's what they call them. Really not too much difference between the two, with one exception. This Warlock starts with spangly armor. And if you look at the model, I mean, he is wearing armor. Yeah, and so it makes sense. Now, the Elven Mage can't have armor, period. You can give those apprentices light armor in the Elven side, but not here. Here we're dealing with actual, honest-to-goodness, spangly armor. So this guy's kind of tough to take down.
That's funny, because my apprentices can't wear armor.
Good point. Yes, it's kind of a reverse situation here. Because the apprentice just has, which is what this model represents, just has the dagger. And figuring the backstory for these guys makes sense. You survive long enough, you get the armor. No sense wasting armor on someone who might not live till long enough.
Right.
Now, we started with daggers on the apprentice because that's what is on the model. But obviously you can have other models as long as with light armor, or without armor, I mean. You might want to have them equipped with swords. So I do give the option to upgrade to swords. And you can have up to 4 apprentices or 4 vengeful spirits. And we're counting these little sand whirlwinds.
Those are air elementals that I painted to look like sand devils.
How's that for creativity? Yep. Yeah. Those are themed spirits, vengeful spirits. And those are 18 points each. They're a very basic, straight out of the Elven Mage entry. Nothing changed out of there, so that's why they're...
So I have a question for you then.
18 points, yeah.
Why are the undead ones 23?
Because they have increased accuracy, increased agility, increased strength.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
Yes.
I guess that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of interesting. I was surprised to see that too, but yeah, absolutely. So, as you can see, magic level 2, magic level 3, same kind of cost. You can get tough 2. Already has a wound, just like the regular Elven Mage. Cannot buy an extra wound. Of course, you can't with the Elven Mage either. So definitely be careful with this one. But you'll see the stat line, it's very Elven.
Be careful with your mages, unlike Darren is.
Yeah, I'm not good at hiding my mages.
You're getting better.
Not as good as I want to be, yeah. So, again, nothing really special here except the fact he starts with spangly armor, just the mage, and the apprentices don't get armor. Again, flavor for the specific army. That's kind of what drove the decision there. So let's go ahead and take a look.
Before we do that, I want to say one of the things that is the funnest when, not so much designing, but like grabbing models for an army is because every wizard has access to vengeful spirits, correct? Or spirits of some kind.
Yes, they're just called something different.
Is finding those, because they can be, because there's no description of them. It's just find a cool model and do, like I said, I was like, what am I going to use for vengeful spirits for these things? Because I was like, well, they're all based, the ones that are based, because there's a handful that aren't based yet. They're all based desert wise. I was like, sand devils would be cool, but they don't make. I was like, looking through at our local shop. I was like, elementals. I could paint those yellow and brown. They look like sand devils.
Yes.
I mean, and like with the undead halflings, it's like I gotta find something small because I don't want them to look too big. So it's like find those little itty bitty devils. It's like those will work perfect. That's the most fun I have with, and with my rats. I basically took water elementals and painted them green to look like the disease and plague the rats the rats do. So it's like, there we go. That is the funnest thing to do when putting an army together. I will say that, because it's like, what can I do? What weird thing can I put together?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, because I've got those little tree spirit looking things for my elves, which is what my mind draws to when it's when I'm dealing with my elves. That's a good point, though. Your different armies can use different manifestations of the spirit. I do like that. All right, well, now we're going to move off to our very special, because he's got a completely different type of stat line.
His flesh. Okay.
Alrighty, so this was a challenge to design, because it's how do you use the rules to make this work? A character who himself is not actually walking around. He's being carried by 3 toad-looking things, but he's a magic user. Oh, pardon the construction noises. Next, they're doing some work in the next suite over. So, playing around with it, we're looking at. There's nothing he can't. It's not like cavalry. Didn't make any sense, right?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, so that was right out. But somehow there was just this. We can do the chariot concept. That kind of works. And especially since with chariots are relatively fragile things. And he doesn't want to be in combat.
No.
Right. So it kind of makes sense you're going to want to pull him back further and keep him out of all that ugliness that is combat. If he does get hit, he does have the toads that could take damage and basically slow him down.
Because he's so fast.
Yeah, because there's actual, a couple of these things, one or both draft animals are badly hurt, so your movement's reduced by 1. That's,
I don't think I've ever gotten him in combat in this.
No, you haven't. No, and that's a good thing. So, there's things like this that the chariot damage chart just really helps convey. So, you have an injured toad, you're not going to move as fast.
You don't move fast as it is.
That's true. That is true. Because unlike chariots, these are toads carrying him around. They're not going to move very fast. So, let's take a look at the stats. Now that we've gone through the chariot route to get here. All right, now the stats we chose. I mean, it is a chariot, so you can see we have the chariot stat line set up just like you see in a lot of other chariot entries, with a chariot line, which is where you have the res and the agility. But you'll notice it makes sense, he's large, but it's slow 4, so he's not moving as fast as even regular infantry. So I think that kind of reflected the nature of him in his all his glory. Now, just like a chariot, the actual rider of the chariot gets their own stat line. And the bracketed entries are ones you don't use, because you use the other stat lines in the chariot to reflect the combat. So used 3 agility. I left it 3 agility for him simply because, now I wasn't gaming the points here, but because he's slovenly, big, fat, he's not agile like a normal elf.
No.
So I figured it made sense to go ahead and decrease his, should he ever be on his own 2 feet, which he really won't be. because he is a chariot unit with magic user ability. So it's not like a hero in a chariot where the hero will you'll replace the chariot model with the hero model without a chariot. If he goes down, he's down, he's gone. Yeah. So no sense in. I got a couple extra points by doing that. Now he does have an accuracy 3. That is in case there are any spells that require a shooting attack. If there's any reason he needs to make an accuracy type roll, he's an elf. He's going to have that same dexterity. Strength is ignored because the toads are the ones actually doing the fighting, not him. Res is ignored because it's the chariot, which is essentially the dais and the toads themselves, that's actually what you're doing your saves against. Initiative is 8 because he is an elf, and command is 9 because, again, he is an elf. That's just the stat line, right? But here's where things get. He is slow 3. Now, I don't know why I put that in there.
Is that if he's not on the chariot?
I think so. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yep.
Because he normally was 4.
Let me backtrack. You're absolutely right. He is slow 3 because in the event the chariot is destroyed, since he has wounds, he is kind of counted as a hero on the chariot. He will be his own agility 3, but he'll only be moving 3 because he doesn't move. He'll be crawling around the ground. He's heavily laden, so he won't be able to sprint, and it's blubber he's carrying, not armor. He has no hand-to-hand attacks, but he does have wound 2 and tough 2. He is a magic level 3 and does have 6 known spells. Alright, so the 6 spells are preset to Endow Strength, Surge, Enfeeble Foe, Sorcerer's Shield, Fiery Balls, and Aura of Courage. Essentially, Endow Strength, Enfeeble Foe, and Aura of Courage are to bolster the hand-to-hand combat of his minions. Sorcerer's Shield keeps him from getting hit with missile attacks. Fiery balls, because as Dave was telling me, they're fire-based more than lightning-based, being a desert. And Surge is just another way to keep, really, honestly, his unit moving.
Him or his chaff.
Yeah. And here's the thing: he doesn't want to be in close combat, so it makes sense he could actually do Surge on his own order die, giving himself 2 moves. So even though he's slow 4, he could get a nice long run if he was able to activate twice. Yeah. Not that he would be the one he'd always be surging, but
it's more of me. The way I use the few games I play with it, they use Surge is to. There's a threat coming. I need to remove that threat from getting to him. So let's surge the closest thing to it to get it in front of him.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. Now the other. Now I know you don't have an actual separate model of him.
There is no separate.
Yeah.
model.
Exactly. So when he is chariot's destroyed, he's left with 1 wound. We essentially just mark him as being, not a chariot anymore. Yeah. Now you could buy the model and just kind of cut him off the dais.
There are people that don't like him on the dais.
Oh, really?
And have actually cut him and green stuffed him standing there.
Wow.
It looks cool, but I'm like, nah, that's not the spirit of the Fat Man.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Now, where things get really interesting is the tortured toads. Go ahead and give the backstory of these so we can kind of see why I went the route I did with them.
So, I forget what they are called in Hordes, but they're basically baby versions of the Titans who you will see in
a few videos.
In a few videos. And they put these hooks in their back, like, think Hellraiser.
Mm-hmm.
And the wail of them crying as they're in pain, especially the ones carrying him, our Warlord, our Erehwon Lord, instills fear in the enemy units and rallies the Verran Empire. It's a
very dark elf.
Yes, it is.
Wow.
The more that I realize this. Yeah, they are more dark elves than elves, but that's so. You can explain why you did what you did
Yes.
with them.
Okay. When he said the wailing instills fear, I thought this is the way we can deal with this. If he's charged, the toads will get an exchange of missiles attack, but it's a special wailing shriek. Because there is a baleful glare ability that allows you to, if you hit, you don't do damage, you simply put pins, D3+1 pins on your opponent, and they have to immediately make a morale test. So, what I saw in my mind's eye was the units charging, getting close enough to hear these poor little toads crying, and just withering away. And instead of continuing on the charge, they break and start running the other way. That's what was going through my mind.
The thing that, because I know we had a player that had a very nasty barbarian army that charged him once. And because as you said, it's D3+1?
Yes.
So there's 3 attacks coming at them that are doing this, because there's 3 we call them tortured toads.
Yeah, there are 3 tortured toads.
And just watching a unit run at him and just get pinned out it made me smile.
Yeah, now, to explain kind of how this works, and you can see in the actual entry, though there are 3 toads, they each get an exchange of missiles. That's 3 attacks. Now, their accuracy is only 4. So, exchange of missiles, you're only going to hit once, maybe, because they're hitting on 3s.
But still.
No, absolutely. So, but regardless of how many times they're hit, it only counts as being hit by baleful glare once, which is enough,
Right.
because it's that D3+1 in immediate break test for the pins. So it helps protect him from the charge. It doesn't keep him immune, but it feels right when we were playing through it.
And honestly, it helps the most if a unit does make it in. They're gonna have minimum 2 pins on them, and with his res being 10, if he survives that combat, they're backing off from him.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
He can't do any damage in hand, but he's durable.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he can't do damage, but his tortured toads can. They have each have a hand-to-hand attack. They're hitting on 5s.
No strike value.
Right, no strike value, exactly. So they're not strong. They can do something to him. Maybe take one out, maybe. It's that wailing shriek that matters.
It's the defensive tech.
Yes, exactly. And so that's kind of how I went with this one. And to me, it feels right. It feels the way Dave described it to me. I had this picture in mind, and the way it plays matches that. Now, what I want to know, though, is, Dave, how you've played him a couple times.
Yeah.
How do you feel compared to the War Machine model?
It's a little bit different in War Machine, because the one thing in War Machine that thankfully no other game system I know of has, although this technically does with the rats and the undead, in War Machine, because I can't put him and say the queen on the table at the same time. He's the general of an army in War Machine.
Oh, I see.
In War Machine, if your general dies, you lose the game.
Ah.
Just like there used to be ways to scalpel out an enemy leader turn 1 and just game's over. So in War Machine, it was easier to hide him behind stuff, because if there's something with a bigger base or the same size base in front of him, you can't see him.
I see.
So it was easier to hide him, but the spells that I've given him kind of copied what in War Machine you cast not as many spells as you want, but there's not a limit of 1 spell per turn.
Gotcha.
Which kind of hurts, which kind of mitigates what he can do in this, but I still like using him just because I love the model. He fits thematically with the way that I've rewritten him, and the way that, and also kind of borrowing from War Machine, but he does what he's supposed to do.
That's good news. That is really good news.
It's good. He does what he's supposed to do, and I can try and hide him as best I can, but again, it's the if you really want to come at him, and you're gonna, the way I play him, you're gonna have to chew through a lot to get to him. Hopefully, you're gonna have at least a pin or two by the time you get to me, and then you're gonna have at least 2 more pins on you when you get to me. So I'm gonna survive and then run away.
Yeah.
Run away.
Yeah.
Air quotes, run.
Run as fast as you can without actually routing. Yes.
Yes.
All right, so that is. I keep forgetting how to pronounce his name. That's Kylaros. The one of my favorite units I've ever designed in the game. All right, so this army has a special mage on a chariot, which is really kind of neat because I know the barbarians have a hero on a chariot. I know they have a warlord on a chariot, and it's nice to have something like that in a new army on the table. So hopefully this is giving you some inspiration as well in designing some other armies that you may have, or taking models and interpreting them using the existing rules. And who knows, I mean, maybe you can come up with something as intriguing and interesting with your models as we've got here. So stay tuned. The next video we're going to cover the champions of the Verran Empire.